After chapter 220, I have some things to say about the original body of Ryomen Sukuna. Now, I totally misread the Gojo panel in my spoiler review, but what can I say? It's tough being a quirkless shinobi. But let's talk about the fact that we saw Ryomen Sukuna's true body. And I mentioned this in my spoiler review, but this looks just like the Soka Shinbutsu, which are effectively just Buddhist monks that are mummified. But this also relates back to the original creepypasta and the 2chan post that Jujutsu Kaisen was partially based on, or at least Ryomen Sukuna was based on. And I'll leave a link for that below. And now we got a couple major lore dumps in this chapter. I only really want to focus on one of them because while the barriers from Tengen are very interesting, I'll probably leave that for a separate video. Right now, I just want to focus on the cursed objects that Angel mentioned, Ryomen Sukuna's corpse, and how we're finally seeing the fact that Ryomen Sukuna was the only guy to ever truly find out, besides Kenjaku, on how to make cursed objects out of people, or at least their body parts, or other things. I mean, I doubt they're all fingers. Obviously, the story's been a little tight-lipped on how Kenjaku went about with all the binding vows. Now, Kenjaku shows us Sukuna's corpse, and he says he's going to bring it to him as a souvenir. And while Kenjaku might be bringing it as a souvenir, I don't think this thing was brought back into the story for absolutely no reason. First of all, we know from this chapter that Sukuna is like the only guy that can create cursed objects from parts of his body. Kenjaku probably can too, but so far we've only seen him do it for others. So Sukuna 100% confirmed Voldemort. Now we already know this body is indestructible, or at least the grave wax around it. So this stupid giant body is sticking around for a while. And by a while, I mean potentially forever. But seeing this thing in the series again, or at least directly in the series, had a lot of people raising their eyebrows. And we also got rid of some of the pretty bad plot holes that we had up until now, in that Sukuna's cursed energy and part of Sukuna was still inside of Yuji to some extent because he was soaking in him. And that explains how he was able to put all of himself into a finger and still maintain some control. Because my original question was, during the Enchained Vow, unless it was part of the Binding Vow itself, how is he still controlling the body if he ripped off his finger to stuff it inside of Megumi's mouth when that's all of him? But now we know it's just that Sukuna is built different. But this giant meat body being brought back, yeah, this isn't for no reason. At least I don't think it's for no reason. This is probably where we see Sukuna come back in some form. Because I don't think he's going to stay in Megumi's body forever, and a lot of the community doesn't think he's going to stay in Megumi's body forever, but the real question is, where is he going to go? But now we have this indestructible body delivered to us with a fully intact brain that he can just RCT off of if he stuffs a finger in his mouth. And Sukuna being one of the only guys in the entire series to know how to make the magic fingers. These fingies don't come cheap, guys. Not just any Joe Blow sorcerer is able to create the magic chicken finger. They are a Sukuna specialty, and therefore only he can put them in people's mouths. And I'm just going to go off of speculation here and say he's probably the best one at this and better at it than Kenjaku is. Because this guy turned his entire body into one giant cursed object. Because his body is still there, and the body and soul are intrinsically linked in Jujutsu Kaisen. And that's like 3 times as many Horcruxes as Voldemort ever managed. And I have a lot of questions around this thing. Because it being indestructible and the grave wax being indestructible is obviously part of Sukuna's plan. And it's probably part of how he makes cursed objects in the first place out of his body parts. Because for a long time we knew that Ryomen Sukuna died. But now we know that he knew how to turn himself into a cursed object on purpose. This isn't just something that happened after death on accident. And the other leading theory is that he made a binding vow with Kenjaku, but now we know that he never even had to do that. So what we can gather from this is that Sukuna did not just die of natural causes, he mummified himself and turned himself into a cursed object. Not to mention the grave wax his body is covered in. And after all that, they couldn't destroy his body, so they chopped off his fingers and sealed them. So it sounds like he put most of his power into his fingers. But if Yuji's body is soaked in Ryomen Sukuna's cursed energy, and he himself is effectively a cursed object, shouldn't Ryomen Sukuna's actual body be a cursed object too? Because it sounds like his fingers being chopped off was not part of his original plan. Because we don't get statements on who chopped off his fingers, but obviously they couldn't destroy his body. So they don't particularly sound like Sukuna friends. And I think this might have something to do with the fact that Ryomen Sukuna's cursed energy itself is malevolent. So the strange nature of Sukuna's ability to turn himself into a cursed object is pretty suspect, and I do not think that this is out of left field because people have been theorizing on his body coming back for years. And right now, Sukuna is in the second most important character in Jujutsu Kaisen, and his body is being brought back to him by Kenjaku as a souvenir. I think there's a decent chance that this is where he ends up. Because ever since like chapter 2, we got the full Sukuna body reveal of this 4-armed, 4-eyed, disgusting looking freak beast. We kind of knew we were going to see it eventually, and it sounds like Sukuna can turn back into this form at any time right now. But the final fight or group jumping of Sukuna Thanos just sounds like it's going to be in this body. Because his final death happening inside of Megumi is pretty lame. Let's talk about the obvious foreshadowing of Sukuna's weakness. Now, Sukuna has an incredibly powerful soul, as noted and discovered by Mahito. However, there have been multiple hints at his inability to heal the soul damage if you actually get through his defense. Reverse curse technique struggling to heal soul damage was first hinted at the Mahito fight. Then we see it hinted at again nearly 200 chapters later when Maki asks can he even heal damage from the Soul Liberation Blade. And then we see his finger not healing directly after his confrontation with Maki and Yuji. And now we have a book given to Yuji about the soul. So I'm pretty confident the soul is going to be related in the final defeat of Ryoma and Sukuna, and not just the power of friendship. Because we're probably going to get 2 major Sukuna fights, and one of them is probably going to end in power of friendship. And I pray it stays only one of them. Because honestly, 20 Finger Meguna might just be too strong to defeat without soul hacks. But Meguna kind of sealed his fate the moment he took over the second most important character in the entire series. Because we're going to see Megumi again. Even if it's for 5 minutes or 30 chapters, he's coming back. So those are some of my thoughts about Sukuna's body, 20 fingers, and what I think we're going to see with his corpse coming back into play. Because this certainly has the JJK community raising its eyebrow right now. Like he's going to stuff his chicken fingy in that mouth and bring himself back. Probably 50% more ceremoniously than that, but at the end of the day, that's the winner chicken dinner. Because it just being a souvenir seems like a little bit of wasted setup, and it would be pretty funny. And it really looks like Jujutsu Kaisen is just catapulting to its end again. Even though I misread it in my initial spoiler review, it was 3 AM, don't hate me. But Gojo's coming out, and realistically, it should be next chapter, unless Angel has plot convenience and can't use her curse technique for some reason. Oh no, I need both arms to play my trumpet or form it. But Angel, can't you just touch the box? No, I have to Jacob's ladder it. Really, we just need to get Bill Burr in here and have him explain getting Gojo out of the box to Takaba. Well, on a more positive note, besides that, this chapter was excellent because we got so many reveals. I know everyone's focusing on the Gojo box thing and him coming out next week, or most likely coming out next week. But personally, I'm really interested in seeing what the true nature of Jujutsu is. Because we're so close, we can see it right there. It's right over the horizon. Angel knows a little bit, Sukuna seems to know all of it. So either Angel, Kenjaku, or Sukuna, open your mouth and start spitting facts. But that's just my opinion, and I want to hear yours. Let me know what you think about Sukuna's body coming back, and if you think it's going to come back into play later, and what you think the true nature of Jujutsu might be. And if you like content like this, subscribe for more. And as always, thanks for watching.